There was a man in France named Robert Merchant. He worked as a postman all his life, walking long routes, delivering letters, and going home at the end of the day. He never went to a gym, never lifted a weight, and never ran a marathon. At 65, he retired. And right then, at the age when most people start taking it easy, he picked up a bicycle for the first time. By the time he was 105, the same man was riding 22 kilometers in a single hour on a flat road without stopping. It's not really the age, it's biology, and it's something we can measure. The fatigue, the slow burn pain, the dimming energy that we associate with getting older is not, for the most part, inevitable. Here's something that might genuinely surprise you. Only about 10 to 20% of your health outcomes are decided by your genes. The other 80% is being written by you every day in every meal, every night of sleep, and even in your thoughts. In the next 10 minutes, I want to walk you through the actual science of how to slow your aging and, in some cases, reverse it. There's a concept doctors use all the time called as lifespan, which is simply the number of years you'll be alive. The average Indian today lives to about 70 and the average American to about 78. But there's a second more important word called health span. That's the number of years you're actually vibrant, walking on your own, thinking clearly, and doing what you want with your own body. Now, here's the unsettling part. For most people, the health span ends about 20 to 30 years before lifespan does. You might live to 75, but you might also spend the last 20 years of those in pain, on medication, and dependent on others. Worst case, being bedridden. India is now called the diabetes capital of the world, and roughly 1 in 4 Indians is pre diabetic, with most of them having no idea that they are even having it. Heart attacks used to be considered a problem in people in their 60s. Today, 28-year-olds are landing in ICUs. There's one more thing worth mentioning because it catches a lot of people off guard. You might be thinking that since you're thin, you must be fine. That isn't necessarily true. Researchers now use a term called skinny fat, which describes people who look slim on the outside but whose internal organs are wrapped in visceral fat. Studies from the US suggest only about 12% of adults are metabolically healthy. The numbers in India are probably worse given to our diets and increasingly sedentary lifestyles. So, the real question isn't when you'll die. The real question is whether you'll be genuinely alive while you're alive. For about a century, doctors treated diseases as completely separate problems. But from the last 2 decades of research have started to challenge that model in a serious way. Heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, dementia, and many autoimmune conditions are increasingly being seen as different surface level expressions of one shared root problem. The two terms that keep coming up in this research are chronic inflammation and insulin resistance. Researcher at MIT has spent decades studying a family of genes called sirtuins, which act as master switches that decide whether your cells age fast or slow. When someone asked him what really drives aging at the cellular level, his answer was almost disarmingly short. He said it was, in essence, sugar quietly damaging the system. And that's not just sugar in the sense of the white stuff that you usually have in your tea or your food, it's refined carbohydrates as a whole, including white bread, rice, maida, biscuits, sweetened cereals, and sugary drinks. They all end up in the same way in your bloodstream, which is as glucose. Glucose then spikes insulin, and insulin, more than almost any other hormone, controls how quickly you age. The numbers here are honestly hard to believe. The average American eats roughly 152 pounds of sugar per year, which is close to 70 kgs of sugar. Indians tend to eat less sugar by weight, but we more than make up for it with refined carbs. Now, consider cancer for a moment. Siddharth Mukherjee, whom I recently met, the oncologist who wrote The Emperor of All Maladies, has spoken about lab studies in which animals with aggressive cancers, including Pancreatic cancer, with its usual survival rate of under 10%, showed dramatic tumor shrinkage when placed on a ketogenic diet. The mechanism behind this is reasonably well understood. Cancer cells need glucose to grow. So, when you starve them of glucose, many of them begin to die. So, if there's one change worth making today, it isn't about adding something new. It's about removing added sugar and refined flour as a daily staple. Now, here's something most people never hear in their entire lives. The biggest single driver of aging isn't your heart, it's not your brain or your liver, it is your muscle. The process then tends to begin somewhere around the age of 30. And if you do nothing about it, you lose between 3 and 8% of your muscle mass per decade. By the time you're 60, that adds up to a serious amount of muscle loss. There's a useful comparison researchers often use. The muscle of a healthy 25-year-old looks something like a filet mignon, which is lean and dense throughout. And the muscle of a sedentary 55-year-old often looks more like a ribeye steak, which is heavily marbled with fat. Your weight on the scale might be the same in both cases, but the biology underneath is completely different. And when muscle goes, a lot of other things go with it. Your insulin sensitivity drops, your testosterone and growth hormone fall, your cortisol levels rise, and inflammation slowly creeps up. The sad part is how passively many people accept this. The common thought is that since they're 50 now, why would they lift weights at this age? But the science actually suggests the opposite. Dr. Mark Hyman, as you know, a well known functional medicine physician, started serious strength training only at the age of 60. He had done yoga, cycling, tennis his whole life, but he had never lifted heavy weights. In his own words, he now has more muscle in his 60s than at any other point in his life. And he's far from unique in this. Studies have repeatedly shown that even 80 and 90-year-olds can build meaningful muscle mass through resistance training. Protein matters quite a bit here as well, and this is where many people, especially vegetarians, tend to fall short. I'm sorry about this, guys, but this is a fact. You generally need around 25 to 30 grams of high quality protein per meal, including about 2.5 grams of an amino acid called leucine to actually trigger meaningful muscle synthesis. A bowl of dal alone usually doesn't get you there. Both quality and quantity matter when it comes to protein. So, if you're not strength training at least twice a week, and if you are not getting enough protein in each meal, you're quietly speeding up your aging without even realizing it. Interestingly, over the past 20 years or so, researchers have identified four mechanisms, one of which has already won a Nobel Prize that can measurably slow biological aging. The first of these is called autophagy. The word literally means self eating, and it describes your body's built in cleanup system. Your cells dismantle damaged proteins, broken down mitochondria, and accumulated cellular waste. And then they recycle the parts, especially by themselves. In 2016, the Japanese scientist Yoshinori Osumi won the Nobel Prize for clarifying how autophagy actually works at the cellular level. The practical takeaway is fairly simple. Autophagy turns on most strongly when you're not eating, and roughly 16 hours of fasting tends to ramp it up significantly. So, finishing dinner by 8 p.m. and not again eating until noon the next day isn't just diet trend nonsense, but there's a real mechanism behind it. The second tool is the science of telomeres. In 2009, Elizabeth Blackburn won a Nobel Prize for showing that the tiny protective caps at the end of our chromosomes, which are called telomeres, shorten a little every time a cell divides. When they get too short, the cell dies, and over time, so do you. But Blackburn's later work showed something most people miss. Telomeres can actually be lengthened. Regular meditation, consistent exercise, a nutrient dense diet, and Surprisingly, even strong personal relationships all seem to slow telomere shortening. The third tool is something called as hormesis. Try a wild strawberry sometime if you ever get the chance. It's tiny, but the flavor is remarkable. While a conventional supermarket strawberry, by comparison, tastes like Watertown sugar. The reason for this difference is that the wild strawberry had to struggle to survive. No one watered it, no one fertilized it, and so it had to build up protective compounds called phytochemicals to defend itself. Those same compounds give it both its flavor and its nutritional density. Your body operates on the same principle. Controlled stress, when it's short, intense, and deliberate, actually makes you stronger over time. This includes things like cold showers, sauna sessions, high intensity interval training, and periodic fasting. Since people who use a sauna 4 to 7 times a week show roughly half the cardiovascular mortality of people who use it only once a week. That's a substantial effect for something so simple. Now, I want to mention something that almost never shows up in fitness videos, but that keeps appearing at the top of every serious longevity study. The factor is loneliness. Research has repeatedly shown that chronic social isolation can increase your mortality risk by roughly the same amount as smoking a pack of cigarettes every single day. It's actually a stronger predictor of early death than obesity or high blood pressure in some studies. The Japanese island of Okinawa has one of the highest concentrations of centenarians in the world, with people living past 100 being relatively common there. Researchers have studied their diet, their movement patterns, and their climate quite thoroughly. But what keeps showing up as a major factor is actually something cultural, which is called the Moai. A Moai is a small group of friends, usually formed in the early childhood, that stays together for lifetime. They support each other through school, marriage, raising kids, careers, retirement, and old age. By the time someone is 80, they have people who have genuinely known them for 75 years. Now, ask yourself honestly, do you have something like that in your own life? If you're serious about slowing your aging, you cannot just drink your protein and take a cold shower and call it done. You also need real relations, a sense of purpose, and some form of meaning in your life. This isn't soft self help talk since it's measurable biology, and it might matter more than your supplements stack ever will. You could eat dinner a little earlier tonight or pick up some weights this week. You could call a friend whom you've been meaning to call for a while now, or replace one slice of bread with vegetables. You could try a cold shower just to see what it feels like. These small things repeated quietly over months and years are what bend your biological clock. Because here's a question worth thinking about. What's really the point of living to 100 if the last 30 years are spent in a hospital bed? And maybe the most useful question of all of this is, if your 90-year-old self could sit down across from you right now, what do you think they would ask you to start doing today? Think about it for a while, and I'll see you in the next one.